Hey guys, here are the 10 things that have pleasantly surprised me about Ukraine. I don't think a lot of people talk about these things, but personally for me, they have really kind of, made me jump back and be like, wow, I didn't know that. It's pretty cool. They're in no particular order, and let's start with number one, and that is people are humble and modest. And I think that's because intelligence in general is sort of instilled into people at a young age, and people tend to be intelligent, modest. I think that's a pretty cool thing. I was really surprised by that. There's not a lot of obnoxiousness going on around here. Well, there is a bit, but by and large, I don't really find that here. I find more of that in the States, for example. I think that over there it's kind of normal to like walk around in your pajamas or like a bathrobe to go into a grocery store. Well, some people do that. I don't know. I guess not everybody. They're holding on to their human qualities. They're holding on to like being human and like expressing themselves better here. For example, I was waiting for a friend at a busy subway interchange, and basically what was happening was like fifth to tenth per couple that were walking together. They ended up like hugging or kissing each other on the cheek, and this is like a subway during rush hour. You usually see that at in train stations or at airports all over the world. That's normal, but like here I've seen this kind of like gesture. I've never seen this before in Canada or the States, and I've traveled extensively there. So I thought it was pretty cool. The number two thing about Ukraine that really surprised me was that there was like not a lot of time for BS. I come from a country where there's been a lot of small talk and kind of. Not only are people like quite approachable, you can start a conversation with them relatively easily. It's also the fact that when you do have a conversation, it's whether it's on a bus, maybe like in public, like they're like sitting on a bench or whatever. Usually they're not taken aback by it, and it's a conversation that will, you guys gonna like exchange tips, give each other advice, tell each other like what to do, what not to do. But it's not gonna be meaningless. That's what I'm trying to say, and that's what really surprised me here. The great thing about that is that it also extends to dating as well. So like again, like every single interaction I've had here in terms of dating with the opposite sex, it's been great, and with the exception of a few. But for the most part, it was like, I could learn something about the person could learn about me. The third thing that really surprised me is how cheap everything is, and that was apparent at first, obviously, right away. And that extends to things like telecom services, food, utilities, rent, all of that. It's relatively cheap. A few things are more expensive, like maybe clothes, I think, are maybe more expensive. MacBooks, Pros, and whatever, and maybe California wines that are imported. Those are more expensive. So when you take all that into account, it brings down the average cost of living to maybe like a third of where depends on where you are, but maybe like for me it's about like a third, maybe a quarter to what I'd be paying back home. Just an example, an internet plan could cost about $6 a month. Same with a phone plan could cost about $6 a month with internet, with data, and all of that. The food is also amazing. It's great, and for the price, it's just ridiculously cheap. I think I've had some of the best like vegetables here and fruits and when they're in season, obviously. And then the same thing goes for things like sweets and cakes and all that stuff. It's probably one of the best that I've had in it. The number four thing that I found really surprising is that you'd also probably likely to find everything that you have back home, like maybe your comfort foods and stuff that you enjoy here, because everything is imported. If you don't find it in your local grocery store, in a big supermarket, you can probably find it online. There's many merchants that sell things like that. For me personally, it was things like sriracha sauces and like Hershey bars and stuff. They're not very widespread, but yeah, you can find that here. For example, like mozzarella as we know it in the States, the stretchy kind, right? You don't really find it here. So what you could always do is substitute sunhuli, this kind of Georgian cheese that I found here. It's pretty good. So there's always workarounds here and there. But if you really need to bring something over, there's this cool app that I found called Grabber.io, and basically like it connects people who are traveling to people who are staying in the country, and then the person who's traveling can bring the items to them for a small fee. It's really good. The fifth thing about Ukraine is that the overall safety and respect that I've experienced here is pretty surprising. I mean, it's quite safe to walk around during the day and at night as well. I mean, there aren't just like that many aggressive people or petty crime going on at all that I found, and you can pretty much walk around any area of the city or the country probably. And if you're a woman, there's no such thing here as like catcalls. Like men aren't going to be bothering you in the street, and men like don't really bother anybody. Really, it's pretty refreshing to see that. I believe it's because people here, they kind of have a conscience, and even like maybe beggars who who wanna like get something out of you. They're not aggressive. I think they still have a conscience. And this also extends to the elderly. There's a lot of respect for the elderly here, which is very also interesting. And there's this kind of mutual understanding that we should all care about them, we should all help them out and respect them. And I think it's kind of missing from the West. I mean, we hear about the elderly being taken away into retirement homes and staying there. Well, here it's not so much like that. Sixth thing about Ukraine is that I find really cool is the fact that there's no rat race. Like, what do I mean by rat race? I mean, it's normal that everybody wants to better themselves, advance in their careers, reach the goals that they've set for them, whether it's like financial or whatnot. I also don't find that there's a lot of emphasis being put here on materialism. So if you have a job that's like has a trajectory, has like a career path, then nobody's gonna look down on you, even if you don't have a car, if you don't own a house, that kind of thing. If you take like America, where everything is like crazy go mentality or whatnot, and then you take a place like Spain or something where everything is closed on a weekend, like Saturday and Sunday, nothing works. And I think Ukraine is like a happy medium between the two. It's a little bit more socialist than America, but not as socialist as to like really get in the way of business. And the seventh great thing about Ukraine is that there's a relaxed attitude about money. There's no nickel and diming. For example, in many Western countries, you have this value-added tax system, right? When you go shopping, the tax value of the items are calculated at the register, whereas in Ukraine, all the prices, they include tax. So basically what you see is what you pay. It makes budgeting extremely easy and not as difficult as it once was for me before. Another thing is I find that people back home, they get tied to these massive like loans, mortgages, like credit card debt, and they get tied to these contracts like for something simple as a phone, right? I mean, I remember very well that once my phone bill was over $40 more because I went over like something like 150 megabytes of internet. And don't even get me started about the roaming charges or late fees. Like if you skip a month, like the next month you're gonna have to pay 20% more, 25% more. It's just ridiculous. There's no such thing like this in Ukraine. So most of the service providers are truly pay as you go with absolutely no penalty. So like you stop payment, the service gets turned off, then you wait like 2 months, you pay again a little bit, and then it turns back on. It's just great. The same thing actually extends to utilities payments. So basically if you don't pay your like electricity bill or something for like 2 months, it's no big deal, right? As long as you end up paying it later on. The number 8 thing is the free healthcare services. I know what you're gonna say. It's like, well, it's free, but if you need to buy medicine, whatever, you gotta pay for it. I had to stay at a Ukrainian hospital once, and it cost me an equivalent of $20 for medicine, and then I was out within a week. Well, I'm not even gonna get into the cost of healthcare in the United States, but in Canada, you still have to pay for the dentist, for the optometrist. You have to pay for any prescription medication that you have. The cost of healthcare in Canada is free, right? But no, it's not free. You got to pay for it through taxes, and your income taxes are within 35 to 40% of your income. And like, what if you don't get sick that 1 year? Do you actually get your money back, or like a part of it back? No, you don't. So the number nine great thing about Ukraine is that it's like an exotic place. The novelty of it has never lost its luster, and I don't think it ever will. There's still many places, especially like smaller villages and smaller towns in Ukraine, where meeting a foreigner is like, it's considered really, really crazy and exotic. So basically, if you're somebody who likes to explore and stuff, it's amazing because you can kind of like chart your own territory and like find out, uncover these new exciting places. Ukraine is also a place where you can reinvent yourself, but it's obviously not so easy, because learning a market, starting a business here is extremely, it's not difficult, but it takes some time getting used to it. You have to spend some time learning about everything. Same thing with regards to uprooting yourself and coming to Ukraine and like actually making the change, making the move is also difficult for many people. As English proficiency of Ukrainians increases with time, I think it will be a little bit easier for travelers to get around here and all that. Number 10 thing is that beautiful people. I mean, everybody's beautiful, not just girls. I mean, we all know that girls are beautiful, but I think everybody really is beautiful. Like men, women, young, old, doesn't really matter. My friend went to Kiev for a few days, and he was like just blown away that every single day he's seen a girl that's like better than the last. Like, it's just better than the last. It's the most beautiful girl he's ever seen in his life up to that point. And I kind of agree with that, because people here are just, they look good, and it doesn't really matter like what age they are. I think they have their own beauty about them. Anyway, I hope you really enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think in the comments section below. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want, and I'd be happy to hear from you. Until next time, guys.